Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. She was the first woman in history to executive produce 2 primetime dramas simultaneously. As writer and producer of Touched by an Angel, she guided the show through 9 seasons and drew an audience of 25 million each week. But there's much more to her story. Tonight, she joins us to talk about her life and career, the power of great storytelling, and her new Christmas film, premiering Sunday, November 23rd on the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel. It's called Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas. Please welcome Martha Williamson to the program. Great to see you again.
It's so nice to be here.
I want to start with this. You took a 10-year hiatus from television. Touched by an Angel and Promised Land were going great guns. 9 years, you did the one show.
Amazing.
Why did you take so much time off?
Well, first of all, I was pooped.
Okay. Well, there's a good reason.
You
were doing
really
double
hard.
shift here.
Doing double shift. We had done, there was one season on Touch where we did 27 episodes, and normally, 22 people don't even do anymore.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
So I was pretty tired, and I said, I just need to take a rest. And then my husband and I adopted 2 of the most wonderful children ever from China. Wow. And I said, you know what? I don't want to miss a thing. I really want to be home. So I found other things to do at home, but I stayed with them and got to be a mom.
I love it.
Very late in life, by the way.
Oh,
I got to be a mom.
What did you learn during that hiatus?
Oh, I learned how to be a better producer because I learned how to be patient. I learned that you've got to be a good mom. You have to put yourself in child's booties. And I realized, you know what, there were so many times on Touched when the bottom line was so urgent. You know, you got to got to make the day, got to make the show, let's get it. Yeah. That you forget about all the hearts and souls that you're trying to reach are some of the very people on the set. Yeah. So I realized if I ever go back, I'm going to be a better, kinder, gentler producer. And I wasn't a bad one before.
Yeah, no, I know some of the people who were in that show, and they loved you, so it wasn't like you were a tyrant with a whip.
No,
so.
but I relaxed more. Yeah. You know, I relaxed. You know, once you see your kid take a flyer and you can clean up anything after that.
Tell me about Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and where this came from. This was a series and is a series on the Hallmark Channel. Where did this come from? Where did this idea originate?
This is a really great story. I was cleaning out my office from Touched by an Angel, and I had left all these boxes of things for 2 years, and I was finally ready to start going through and see what I was going to toss out, and I found a box of fan letters. And it came at a time, Raymond, when I was really struggling. Had I made the right decision? You know, I'm out of the business. You're only as good as the last thing you've done. Yeah. I'm old news. And suddenly, I found this box. I started reading these letters, and people were saying, you changed my life. The show changed my life. I was going to take my own life, and I saw an episode of Touched. Or my brother-in-law was homeless, and after we saw the homeless episode, we went out and found him on the street and brought him back. You know, those are the things you realize. If I never went back into show business again, we made a difference. And that made me think I needed to see those letters now, even though they came to me late. Yeah. So Signed, Sealed, Delivered gave me the idea about doing a dead letters that get lost in the mail and arrive late, but right on time.
Yeah, and these are postal detectives.
Who
go about sort of trying to reunite the intended letter with the intended person.
Yes.
Tell me what happened. The series started on Hallmark and was such a lovely show in so many ways. Now you're doing films.
Yeah, it started out as a series. I had written a pilot, and Hallmark picked it up and just loved it. And then they said, what we really need to do is get deeper into these stories. Yeah. And so it's moved over as sort of the cornerstone of the Movies and Mystery Channel now, and we're going to be doing the first one as a Christmas episode, or Christmas movie.
See, this is my problem with Christmas miracles. Little kids ask for them, and we can't make them happen.
Hannah's not asking us to perform a miracle. She's asking God to.
Oh, then maybe we should let God answer the letter.
Well, I believe he did by entrusting the letter to us.
Why are letters so important? This seems a bit of a throwback. Some people go, wait a minute, I've got my computer, I've got my iPad, I've got my smartphone. What do I need a letter for?
What do I need a letter for? I'll tell you what you need a letter for. You hold it in your hand. that the person who wrote it took the time to find the right piece of paper and the pen. I have a letter from my dad that he wrote to me, you want to know how old I am, in 1973 when I went to college. Yeah. And he said how proud he was of me. And he typed it on this onion paper, and the little holes that went through the onion paper, yeah. Right? And he signed it, and it had his own little logo at the top. I can still hold that paper. I can still feel that my dad is with me a little bit. And he's not lost in cyberspace somewhere. I know where he is, and I can find him again.
He has left a deep impression on you and your work. Yes. This character, Oliver, who is the lead in this show and now in the films, it's a tribute in some ways to your dad.
Absolutely it is.
Tell me how so.
You know, my dad was a gentleman. He was a wonderful man. If he would step aside to let a lady go by or a man go by, it was about love and kindness and consideration, which you forget so much anymore. I was on a bus yesterday, and all the men were sitting and all the women were standing, including a lady who was about 80 years old. And I kept thinking, what has happened? And it's just a joy to be able to have an hour or two on television to remind people what kindness and generosity really looks like. And that was my dad, but he also had struggled. He had been married before and had struggled with that. It broke his heart, and he fought long and hard to save his marriage before he met my mom. Yeah. And it didn't work. And I thought, how does a man of faith, a gentleman, a man who tries to do the right thing at all times, deal with the fact that his marriage is in trouble? And that is a low-level theme of this show, but it is to remind people that just because you believe in God doesn't mean your life is easy.
Or it's going to be perfect.
It means He'll get you through it.
Yeah. He gave you a bit of advice, your father did, about your work and what it should accomplish. Can you share that with us?
He said, those to whom much is given, much is required, and that I hope that everything you do would always elevate and encourage and lift people up.
And it has done that, certainly, throughout your whole career.
That's been the joy of it. You know, it hasn't been the kind of a show, neither of the shows. Touched by an Angel was not, always the big Emmy Award winner, but we won in the hearts of the people.
Yeah, no, you had a huge audience each week, really unmatched since you've left Sunday night for CBS. I mean, aside, even football doesn't get 25 million viewers. I mean, not to, with apologies to my Drew Brees. Let's talk for a moment about writing for you. I read in an interview you consider it almost a spiritual exercise.
That's
you
right.
pray before writing?
I do.
Why?
I do. Well, it's an act of creation, and the Creator is, if you invite God into anything, then He's going to make it better than you can ever imagine. I saw on your website, I love your website, by the way, and you have a little quotation today, and the quotation today was something about story is light in a world that's so dark.
Kate Tuccanello,
and my company is called Moonwater, and the name came from the idea that it was reflections of the highest and the brightest in a dark world. And so we had a lot in common about that.
There's a common theme here.
And that is when I think about what comes next, the next script, and believe me, when you have to do 27 in a year, it's a tough one. And of course,
do you do them all at one time? You write them straight through?
And of course we had a wonderful staff of writers who worked with me, but it did go through my typewriter, every script, because I had to maintain that biblical basis and make sure that we were consistent. But I would put my hands on the typewriter or computer, and I just close my eyes and say, okay, let's go. And that's when you're running, when you hit that wave and you know how this is going to end, it's like that Chariots of Fire, where he says, I feel His pleasure when I run, and I feel that the Lord and I are working together, and it's a great feeling.
Tell me about the Christmas movie, how this differs from the series that so many have already made a part of their lives, and how it expands on that story. What happens here?
Well, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie.
And
it's not a happy holiday.
Christmas, which is nice.
Yes. And some people say, oh, all those Christmas movies are always so sappy, and it's about puppies, and people fall in love, and then they have an argument and a misunderstanding, and then they meet on the bridge, and they're all back together.
Or under the mistletoe.
Under the mistletoe.
Curtain.
So I decided, I started working in comedy, and I thought I'm going to make a funny, heartwarming, Bible-based Christmas show that feels like a Christmas show.
Yeah.
And I never was able to use the name of Jesus, by the way, when I was on CBS, when I was working on Touch.
Why not? It was an executive decision?
It wasn't an executive decision, but it was, they didn't hire me to write a Christian show. It was amazing what we were able to put on that show.
Yeah.
But,
because, I mean, when you hear the title "Touched by an Angel," you think of a secular show. Now.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. So, but this is a show about the birth of Jesus, and yet it's funny, and it uses all of our dead letter detectives, and yes, there is some love and romance in there, but it's like nothing you've seen.
I want to give people just a little taste. Here is Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas. It's coming on this Sunday. Give a look.
I'm not perfect. But through it all, I have learned how to hold firm in a storm, not by holding on to whatever I can find for as long as I can, but by trusting that the one thing that matters in this world will never let go of me. And Shane, that's what perfect love is. Perfect love casts out all that pain, all that fear, and replaces it with hope.
I love that these characters are dealing with loss. They're dealing with things that are real.
That's important to say.
And this is an important thing that I think
Yes.
a lot of people during the holidays, they are made to feel festive, but many times you're dealing with calamities, deaths, illnesses, your own brokenness, and the holiday isn't quite so rah-rah.
No, you're absolutely right. And this is one of the reasons that I wanted to write that show, because there's a line in there that says, you know, we've all lost somebody or something, and somebody else's happy Christmas can make our Christmas so much harder. And we need to, you know, we need to let Christmas do what it was intended to do.
I read somewhere that this is intended to prepare our hearts for Christmas.
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I think we get so caught up. You know, you just get caught up in Christmas. I mean, I'm already making my lists and buying my stuff.
Christmas cards and all the...
And to just for a moment stop and remember what Christmas is really about. And people aren't talking about the fact that we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. And whatever you think about Jesus, this is what Christmas is. And you could do far worse than stop for a moment and find out more about Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that you know, it's been such a joy for me to be able to encourage people. I had my own challenges this year. They really weren't mine; they were my husband's. He had
a stroke.
He had a stroke about 1.5 years ago,
and
this is he had a stroke on top of a mountain. I was shooting the pilot for Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I was on the phone with him when it was happening. And I said, hold on, and he lost consciousness. He fell down stairs. Wow. And it was amazing. It was, I got on the internet, and I wrote to everybody I could think of in Colorado and said, John's having a stroke. This is where he is. Can somebody please call 911 and go find him? And I held onto the phone and waited because, you know, you can't call 911 from Canada. So finally I heard this little walking, these footsteps, and somebody came up and picked up the phone and said, hello, you know, I got your email. I'm right here with him. He's you know,
gosh.
We've got somebody coming. And he has, I mean, it's a miracle. It's an absolute
miracle. And he's okay.
He is doing very well. He is recovering remarkably well, and he's not given up, and he credits his faith for that.
You know, in doing some of my research before we go here, I was surprised to learn that you had written for Facts of Life, a show I grew up with, that you had written for the Carol Burnett Show and worked with Carol Burnett on some projects along the way. What do you think happened to that wholesome family entertainment that we grew up with, that the whole family could watch together, various generations? Why has that left us, and why are you sort of the last?
why are you the last out of the gate?
Yeah, why are you the last holder of this reservoir of these shows?
I think it's because I'm an older woman with young kids, and I'm still determined. I made a promise that I would never put on a show that I couldn't show my children. And I've stuck to that, and I will never regret it. I'm very proud of
and they're
what we've
watchable
done.
shows. This isn't kind of...
It's fun, you know.
boring or didactic. I mean, they're relatable characters. There's real drama and tension, and
I cannot
you come
wake
away
up in the
feeling
morning.
full.
I can't look in the mirror and say, how shall I kill a vampire today? I can't do it. You know, I still want to bring some light into a home.
Yeah, leave that to Anne Rice.
There you go.
Martha Williamson, thank
What
you
a
so
pleasure.
much for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much.
We'll see you again soon. Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas premieres this Sunday, November 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Hallmark Movies and Mystery Channel. Check your local listings. You can follow all Martha Williamson's projects by visiting marthawilliamson.com.